Happy birthday on Friday. Roxanne Modafferi turns 39, and unfortunately, or fortunately for her, on Saturday, she has to fight Brazil's Taila Santos in an absolute changing of the guard type of fight. There's a possibility for that. And for Roxanne Modafferi, you know exactly what she's going to bring to the cage. And if I could illustrate it a little bit, it's like watching Matt walk on the streets of Fredericton. You go, geez, that's wonky. That looks really weird. Because she comes in here, she's throwing elbows, she's throwing knees, she's throwing weird movement at you. She's wearing those judo Dan Kelly knee braces.
I'm just tall and lanky, but thanks for the call.
It's the same thing every single time out there. And listen, 25 haven't figured it out. 18 have, but 25 haven't. And for Roxanne, I mean, you look at it. The 5-on-in, big names. She loses to Jennifer Maia. She beats Macy Barber. She loses to Lauren Murphy, who's challenging for the title. She beats Andrea Lee. She loses to Viviane Araújo. There's no shame in those losses. 2 of them are title challengers. And Viviane, I think if she had cardio, she could challenge for the title. I really do. Now, for Roxanne Modafferi, she's going to be taking on Taila Santos. And this is where you can kind of talk about camps. I mean, for Santos, Astra Fight Team, she's had bigger names in her camp, and she's been a part of some bigger name camps in Brazil. But mainly out of that gym, you might know Alex Leco da Silva. Michael Bisping said he was going to be a big deal at lightweight in the UFC, and that's true. I'm not making that up. That's real. For Modafferi, she comes out of a big gym in Syndicate MMA. Joanne Calderwood, her friend, Serena De Jesus, just beat Lauren Mueller with Invicta. So there's that. But that's about where that ends for me. Roxanne Modafferi is that litmus test. And for a time or two, it was like top 10 in the UFC. Now it's more top 15. For Taila Santos so far, we doubted her, and it was the biggest whiff in Fight Night Picks history because we sold you wolf tickets on Molly McCann, and Santos handled her. But Matt, the last time Santos went out and fought Jillian Robertson, and listen, we joke around, I make fun of Matt looking awkward and weird. This is where, yeah, exactly. You had Robertson, I had Santos, but not even I thought that Santos was just going to dominate Robertson in every aspect. Striking, grappling, physical imposition. It was an absolute masterclass by Taila Santos. Now, she's been out for a bit. That fight was 8 months ago. Not necessarily her fault because there's been a fight booked in the interim. But now she gets that name where it's like, okay, if Santos wins this fight, I mean, it's like French Montana. We're all the way up. And that's my only rap reference for this week. But she has a great opportunity there. Modafferi can play spoiler, and that's about all I can say.
So while you reference rap, I'll reference Ric Flair. To be the man, you have to beat the man. And in WWE, that normally applies to you beat Ric Flair, then you can be a big star. In the women's flyweight division, to be the woman to fight for the title, you have to at least beat Roxanne Modafferi by unanimous decision at some point along the way. I don't make the rules, guys. It's just what they are. And that's the thing about Roxanne. It's not like she's going out there and getting finished in all her fights, and it's not like her fights aren't competitive. That's the real big thing that you have to remind yourself.
The last one wasn't.
It wasn't, but it's not like she just got finished by a vastly superior fighter. She was at least showing that, hey, in the third round, there are some holes in Araújo's game. And that's kind of what I look at Roxanne Modafferi at this stage of her career. I don't know a lot about cars. You would know this. What's that thing you put into a car where you test it and it tells you what's wrong with it?
A code reader.
So a code reader. Roxanne Modafferi is kind of like a code reader for this division. She might not go out there and get a lot of wins, but she's really good at showing the flaws in her opponent. And that's what we're going to probably learn in this fight. I have no doubt that Taila Santos is going to win this fight. But what I do think we're going to see in this is Santos is going to have a weakness that we didn't see. Either she's not going to look as good in the third round. Maybe at some point the pressure's getting to her. Maybe she gets taken down. Crazier things have happened. I'm just saying, when you fight Roxanne Modafferi, she is so well-rounded that she is going to bring out some wrinkle of your game that you might not be as confident with as you are with the other aspects. Because against Jillian Robertson, Taila Santos showed that she was more well-rounded than I think either one of us believed in. I think this is the fight that almost brings us back a little step, where it's like, hey, you beat Roxanne Modafferi, but remember in the second round when she got her back taken? Remember in the third round when she started to look a little tired? Those might be the conversations that we're having leaving this fight, but I still am pretty confident with Santos getting a win.
Modafferi is a 50-50 fighter like fellow Canadian Alexis Davis is. It's that gut check of, oh, this second round, Alexis Davis always wins second rounds, and then the third round's really close. You look at it in her last fight up at bantamweight against Pani Kianzad. I thought Alexis Davis won that fight. Taila Santos has had one of those fights. It was her UFC debut. Now, maybe it was jitters. Maybe it was nerves. Maybe it was an injury. She lost a split decision to a 50-50 fighter in Mara Romero Barella. That record's not great. Italy, yikes. But when I look at this one, yeah, it is tricky. You look at the odds for this fight, and Santos open a -225 favorite. She's a -396 right now. Modafferi open a +190. She's +300. Can Santos pass the test?
I think so. Here's the thing. The odds are always way off on a Modafferi fight, like they are for a Dan Kelly fight. I don't know what it is about the knee wraps, but bettors hate it. And it makes sense. Normally your knees are wrapped because there's something wrong with them to begin with. But Roxanne Modafferi is always much bigger of an underdog than she probably deserves to be, for all the reasons that we brought up. She's not a fighter who goes out there and gets finished early on. She is going to at least make it to that final bell, and cardio and toughness can take you pretty far. I don't think it's going to be far enough to get a win over someone like Taila Santos, because this is the problem with Roxanne Modafferi that now we're running into. When we talk about, for instance, Santos is 28 years old. I have friends who are like close enough to 28. I'm 22. I don't know anybody who's 39. I don't hang out with anyone Roxanne's age. Like, just when you look at Roxanne's
Matt was
record,
5 when Roxanne Modafferi made her pro MMA
that was what I
debut.
was just about to say. Roxanne made her pro debut in 2003. I was in kindergarten in that year. It's been a while. Like, she's been around. She's been doing MMA for about as long as I've been learning things, and that's never a great sign.
She's kind of like MMA's Jamie Moyer, Bartolo Colon, and then if you want another reference, Chris Chelios, if you're a hockey fan. Just doing it at those advanced ages and still having success. But yeah, when I look at this fight, Taila Santos can impose her physical will against a lot of these women in this division. The wrestling's there. The grappling's there. The striking's there. I like her in a lot of different positions. I like Taila Santos in this fight. Do I love her at a -400? No, so that scares me away because Modafferi's been that gut check. She beat Maycee Barber, who was going to become the youngest champion in UFC history. We know that's not going to happen now. She was able to get a win over Andrea Lee, too, by decision, who, again, is competitive against the top 15 in this division. So we're going to learn a lot this weekend, but I like Taila Santos here.
And the last thing I'm going to say about this fight, we're finally seeing a big turnover in this division, which is really nice. I know Lauren Murphy's finally getting her title shot, and she is one of the, I would say, more mainstays of the division, if you will, because she came off the Ultimate Fighter, used to fight at 135 pounds. But there's a lot of new young talent in this division that's making it really fun. You have fighters like Taila Santos, fighters like Miranda Maverick. I know she lost to Maycee Barber, but still, there's a lot of young, exciting, fun contenders. Manon Fiorot is another one to throw in there. So it's just nice to see that we're finally starting to get this overlap or change in the division. Sort of out with the Roxanne Modafferis, that sounds awful to say, and in with a lot of new young talent.
Matt, both of us going with Taila Santos in this fight. I absolutely love it. And all jokes aside, you have a big fight at 125 all the way up at the tippy top. Shevchenko is taking on Lauren Murphy, and in the main event, Volkanovski Ortega. You're not going to want to miss it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, as we always say. Let's get into it.